Good evening. I'd like to call the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education meeting of August 8th, 2024 to order. Please rise for the pledge. Thank you. Thank you and welcome everybody. Item 3, standing approval items, 3.1, acceptance of agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions? Seeing none, agenda is approved as presented. Item 3.2, approval of minutes. Can I have a recommendation, please? Mrs. Haynes?
Recommendation, resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the following minutes. July 11th, 2024, special minutes for facilities and finance. July 11th, 2024, regular minutes. July 25th, 2024, special minutes for our workshop.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Alexander, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Motion.
Thank you. Item number 4, public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, a person may address the board on an agenda or a non-agenda item by completing a note card located inside the boardroom and place the card in the basket prior to the citizen public comment period. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If you need more time, you are offered a second opportunity to address the board at the end of the meeting with an additional 3 minutes. Please address the board as a whole and not individually. Public comment is not intended for the exchange of dialogue. This is a time for members of the public to express their views. We are paying attention to your comments and appreciate them. However, school board members do not respond to public comment during the meeting. Questions that arise from public comment shall be referred to the superintendent or their designee for review, study, and possible future response. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. Seeing none, we will move on to item number 5, presentations and reports. 5.1, Chartwells, Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you very much. So I would like to invite up Mike Jacobs, our food service director from Chartwells. In addition to working on green initiatives at our schools and also now collaborating with the City of Royal Oak and a committee of staff members and citizens and of course the city, Chartwells and our food service plays a huge role in that. And there are ongoing efforts and many strategies that Mr. Jacobs has already put into place in our schools and through our food service program. So we've invited him here this evening to share with the board some of those initiatives and where we are to date and maybe a window into future initiatives this school year. So Mr. Jacobs, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. Do we want to do slide 2 first then, since that introduction was a little more towards the sustainability piece? We'll talk about that first. So, yes, there have been ongoing efforts to sort of give you the update. There were several elementary schools composting their trays and food waste last school year. We're going to add the other 2 this year, so we'll have all 6 of them. ROMs will begin composting their trays and food waste as well. I think the plan there is to start with the 6th graders, which works well because they're familiar with it coming from the elementary schools, so they'll have a little leg up. Green teams are going to be helpful both at ROMs and at the high school. I'll talk about those in a minute. The high school, this will be a big step for them to try to start composting. At the high school, we use these kind of food trays instead, and they are available in the compostable format. Green teams are going to be important here too, and so we'll talk about what is a green team. Angela Fox, who's with the Royal Oak Sustainability Department in Royal Oak, has been actively trying to recruit and train green teams to be in our schools, in the cafeterias, to help students understand what the process is, which bins to put things in, and to help the student green teams to take over for them so they wouldn't be permanent, they would just be sort of a transition team. And then it can be self-sustainable within the cafeterias. So that's exciting. And it is going to take a lot of teamwork to make this happen. We started talking about some of the specifics, and we just keep thinking of more and more things like cutlery. And then once we get it all in the bins, how do we get it outside to get collected? And so there's lots of steps, and it's going to take teamwork from custodians and teachers and students and everybody's effort to make it work. But I feel confident that we can get there. The goal is that we would eventually have everything compostable or recyclable. Recycling is also going to be part of this. So we're getting there. It's going to take a little longer, but we're well on our way. On the other side of the slide there, you can see some projections on, I put it in pounds and tons of what we think we can compost this year. And so you can see just the trays and the boats alone, it's going to be about 31,000 pounds. And then if you add in the food waste, both, and when I say food waste, I talk about pre-consumer and post-consumer. Pre-consumer is the trimmings and the waste and preparation, and then the post-consumer is the part that doesn't get eaten and goes into the garbage. We're looking at about 40,000 pounds of food to compost during this upcoming school year. So 35 tons of waste that won't go in the landfills and will be composted, turned into dirt, for lack of a better word, that can be used in school gardens or at home. So much better than going into the landfills. Questions about sustainability?
I do have a question. You were talking about, one of the things is the recruitment of volunteers. Do you have like just a ballpark of how many bodies are needed to help at the elementary school versus the middle school versus the high school with this process?
That's a great question. Angela could probably put a better number to that than I could. I can tell you that in the elementary schools, the effort seems to sort of blossom from a parent or a volunteer that's passionate about sustainability. And so in some of those schools, the green teams almost already exist. Middle school and high school is going to be new for us, much larger populations, much larger cafeterias. I would think we would need at least 2 to 3 teams in each cafeteria consisting of maybe 2 people each. That's just the ballpark, but even if it's just one person at each collection station, that would be a good place to start. It's volunteers, it's teachers, it's students, a mix of those.
So, Mike, in addition to this, we've also been talking about the positive nature, if there are other staff members also on this, working with the students who are there with them all day, not just volunteers coming at the lunchtime. And so we are trying to build a core of staff at every building, along with our parent volunteers who, matriculate through. Staff members are there, and it will lend stability, I think, to the program, and then day-to-day interaction with the students, not just at the lunchtime or just before or after. So we know it's very important that we have our staff members on board as well.
Yeah, I think if it can make its way into the daily learnings as well, into the curriculum, just increasing the awareness at every level will really help a lot. Other questions?
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about like the financial aspects, kind of like trade-offs of this, right? Is it way more expensive for us to have compostable, even though we know we're dedicated to it as a mission? Or, kind of what some of those trade-offs are? I'm sure there would be questions about that.
Yeah, it does cost more for sure. At this point, we would expect the cost to come down on things like this once more people are using it. You can reduce your garbage pickup fees if they exist, because we're putting more to someone else. Angela is applying for some grants for money to help pay for bins and different things. So there's a little bit of offset there.
So besides keeping things out of the landfill, I don't want to put you too much on the spot because I know this is Angela's thing. I know she's our environmental expert for the city. Could you talk a little bit more about the benefits, though, of why we do want to do this, or why we are moving forward with this?
I think personally, I think it's important for the environment, and I think everyone would agree that it's just good to do. You know, beyond that, you can turn it into a fundraiser for the schools with the compost at the end of the year. They'll sell you a bag of compost for $3. You can sell it, and you can use it in your own school gardens in the different buildings. You can take it home, use it in your gardens as well. Okay. Yep.
I'll call on myself. Can you explain a little bit more, like how is it going to work? So we're going to have these bins, and the city is then going to have a partnership with us where they're going to be collecting, can you explain that process a little bit more if you can?
Yeah, the compostable materials get picked up by a company called CO Sustainability. We've been using them for several years now, so not really the city there. With the recyclables, though, I think that would still be a city pickup. I'm not 100% clear on that one. So there is a company that we use to pick up the compostable materials.
Thank you.
For our classes that are not yet going to be starting with the compost program, green teams in the fall. So you're starting with 6th grade at ROMS, but then moving in 7th and 8th grade. Will they still be, though, having the same compostable things? Like they're not going to have, say, styrofoam or plastic cutlery. They're just not yet introduced into how to do the
Yeah.
procedure.
That's going to be tricky timing, especially if we do a staggered rollout like that. I think it's going to be an all or nothing in terms of purchasing, and so some of that might not get composted right away, but then eventually would. Yep.
Mr. Jakes, what are the opinions or the attitude of the students who are participating in this? Like, I imagine they're really excited about it.
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know, honestly. I haven't heard from them. Has anyone heard from them?
No, I just know that the reason that it's sorry. The reason it's a staggered rollout is because we really want the student leadership part, because we want that student agency. And so we haven't been able to introduce this to the students yet. So with the 6th graders being familiar with it, we have established teams with our teacher teams, and one of them being MYP, and this does fit in our curriculum as well, so that being brought into our science curriculum in 6th grade and ecosystems. So this is a large part of our MYP curriculum too. So this does bring another level. And so with our 6th graders, hopefully taking some student leadership in this, we will be able to figure out the kinks, then grow it to 7th grade, then grow it to 8th grade. So we are very excited to build that student agency and leadership around it and having them really take control over it. We have already have, within our PTSA, we have a green team already established, and we've been a green school for 2 years in a row. Hopefully we can make a partnership with that and grow it a little bit more too.
Thank you, Mrs. Meldrum.
Okay, anything else on sustainability? No? All right. Okay, the real good news, I think the more exciting news is that meals will be free again this coming year through the approved Michigan Meals program. It made it through the budget again, the state budget, so that's exciting. Free breakfast, free lunch for all students. We do still want to emphasize the need for free and reduced applications to be filled out and sent in. There's a lot of school funding that is tied to those, so we do need them to be turned in. It also helps reduce pay-to-play fees for parents who qualify. A couple different ways you can get your application in. You can go on the website. There is an online version that you can do it completely online. You can also wait for the mailer that's coming out next week and send in a hard copy to the high school if you'd like as well. So those are still important to do. Okay, unfortunately, a la carte items are not free. They are not part of the program, so I want to talk just a little bit about that. Middle school, high school sells things like water, like this, chips, and second meals. That's something we haven't talked about in the past, but we noticed last year a lot of kids at the high school especially would get a meal and then they'd come back and get another meal. then that's fine, but that second meal is not free. The funding is only for one meal per day. And that leads me to let's talk about milk. This comes up a lot every year, even before things were free, but if you just want a carton of milk, it's not free. It's 40 cents. The state cannot provide funding for just the milk, which seems weird, right? You can have a whole meal for free, but you can't have just the milk. And it's frustrating, but that is the way it is. So what I recommend to parents, if they want their child to get a milk, I encourage them to have them sign up and get a meal as well. Otherwise, they have to pay 40 cents for that milk. So just wanted to kind of bring that out to the forefront at the beginning of the year, because it always comes up. All right, any questions about free meals this year? No?
I did have a question. So knowing like high school kids, breakfast is non-existent.
What's that?
Kids, like high school kids don't tend to eat breakfast sometimes, but can they apply their breakfast meal to their lunch? When you were talking about some of the kids do 2 meals? If they
No.
don't do, okay.
No,
just
they are
asking the
separate
question.
meals.
Okay.
We are getting more kids to come in for breakfast, though. We did the pancakes on Wednesday, hot off the griddle at the middle school and the high school, and we even did them a little bit in the elementary schools, so trying to get some more kids, in the building for breakfast.
Well, we're grateful to be able to have that, be able to provide that to students again, and thank you to your team ahead of time, because I know it was pretty crazy last year, so we're grateful.
Yeah, it'll be
you're
busy
able to
again
do
this
it.
year, but we got used to it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, Mr. Jaworski.
I have another question. You actually jogged my memory about something that was talked about at the Green Team's meeting. They were talking about students who don't eat their complete meal. And an example was given that a lot of these students don't want their apples. So the lunchroom parents or monitors were collecting apples, and then I believe they were told they could not give those apples to another student. Is there any truth to that, and why would that be?
I don't know who would have told them that. That you're talking about a share table, basically.
Yeah.
Where an uneaten item can go in there and another student can come take that. I don't know who said that to that person, but that's technically not true. You can do that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right.
No
Thank
more
you for-
questions. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Look forward to hearing an update maybe mid-year or something to see how everything's going.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Okay. Item 5.2, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Ashley Phillips.
Bring that down a little bit. Good evening, everyone. I just have a few August updates, a little bit about the summer, and then some outlooks for the year. So starting off with the Boys College Summer Literacy Institute, you all saw this slide at our last meeting together in June. I attended it, and it was amazing. I love that it was not a sit and get conference. It was a 2-day conference. We went over writing topics, and the first thing that we did after introductions was watch a clip from a video about the Dalit system in India and read a short excerpt from the book Caste and bring those two together and talk about, is there a literacy caste system in Michigan that exists? We did decoding, fluency practice, inclusive instructional techniques, and talked about working with multidimensional reading models and much, much more. It was amazing. So I asked on day 2, what are some of the things that you all see as evidence in data after testing the students, because it's typically 4-week programs for most districts. So they gave me like the overview of the program, what it's for and what it's geared towards, why it was needed, and what the students show improvement of. So 89% improvements in reading stamina, writing stamina, comprehension, sentence complexity, and the ability to cite contextual evidence, because they'll have to cite sources a lot of times in their writing. So they are looking forward to hopefully bringing this to Royal Oak this summer, and I am going to team with our literacy coaches and different departments to bring this into fruition, because it will be great for Royal Oak. Next up, we have a save the date in October 11th. we will be hosting, it will be Oakland Schools Jedi Council, Oakland University, and the Initiative for Eradicating Racism at Oakland University will be hosting the Jedi Educator Summit. It's going to be 13 sessions. They're all feeding into instructional, leadership, and allyship tracks. I will be hosting the session called Real Relationships Rock, and it's going to just be about classroom culture and connections, and definitely establishing those genuine connections with students. So you'll hear more information about it and how to register as it comes. And we are hopefully offering sketches and continuing education credits as well for participants. At our last meeting together, we also talked about the Juneteenth celebration that was coming up with Royal Oak. I was so excited to serve on the planning board for this, and during the actual event of that day, my main station was the check-in station, so I got to see everyone coming into the farmer's market, and at least 3 people told me this gets better and better each year. So we have a few of the pictures here, but I wanted to put together just a short snippet of the day. So as you all can see, it did get bigger and better, and we're hoping for next year for it to be even better as well. So speaking of next year, here we are for our 2024-2025 school year, and I just reflected to myself, what is one word that I want to kind of resemble my outlook for the year? And I said harmony. Everything has to work together, and with me being a coordinator and kind of being a liaison between so many different things, I said harmony is the best thing that comes to mind and how I would like for this year to flow. So we'll be rooted in the Bell framework system, which is just building equitable learning environments with, as you can see, students in the center. So thinking of our students, our families, our community members, our parents, everybody, working together with students in mind as the main thing. Thank you. And any questions?
Well, thank you for your participation in Juneteenth. I think it was the hottest day of the summer.
Yes.
And grateful
With
that
the
they moved
humidity.
folks indoors for a portion of that, just, for safety reasons and that. But it is, every year it is a bigger event and there's more people, so it's really nice. Mrs. Jasinski.
Do you have launch into learning sessions planned for teachers?
Yes, I do. So I'll be hosting the Deeper Dive DEI 101. It will give an overlook of last year's DEI sections and what they can expect for DEI for this year as well. Thank you. Yes.
I'm sorry, can you tell me again what the BELE stands
Yes,
for?
Building Equitable Learning Environments.
Okay, and does that have kind of a framework that would be applicable to the curriculums that we are looking at right now for our, for literacy? We've got 2 pilots going now, and I'm wondering, are we looking at this framework as we're evaluating those amongst all the other ways that we're evaluating it?
Yeah, the nice thing about the Bell framework is you can see the different components of it. So a good curricular cycle does have components, not specifically tied to the Bell framework, but just looking through that lens. So we have ways to kind of incorporate parts of that within that work that we're doing this year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, communications.
We have received several. Helen C. Paulson, Hugh Horatio Phillips, Kelly DeBus, Danielle Kortemash, Jacqueline Caton, Alicia Joy, Elena Schlutow, Tessa Benzinger, and Leslie Walsh.
Thank you. Item number 7 is the consent agenda. At this point, we have just item 7.1, payment of expenses. Do we have any additions or deletions? Seeing none, consent agenda passes as presented. Item number 8, matters for discussion action. 8.1, Superintendent, Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Well, thank you very much. So it was very exciting to have our administrators back in the buildings officially. I know that they work several days outside of the actual calendar, but to have them back in the buildings to collaborate with them certainly adds to our week here at the central office. We also held a single-day retreat for all administrators where we obviously looked at policy and practice and upcoming initiatives for this school year, as well as took an afternoon to talk about SEL and that social and emotional learning component that will be at the heart of many of the things that we do this year, not just for students, but for the adults who serve the students. And it partners very well with our ongoing initiatives in trauma-informed work to understand trauma and the impact on learners and on teachers, as well as the strategic plan, which often is alluded to, and we know that it fits with what we want to see for the culture in our school district. So we're very pleased to have them back. We are looking forward, as you mentioned, into the launch into learning, and I don't want to steal Dr. Ioannis' thunder because I'm sure he has a long list of things to talk about. But we will have building-specific initiatives going on, sessions for our staff presenting to each other, and that's an exciting component, I think, of professional development. We have many talented teachers in our district who've raised their hand to say, I want to share with my colleagues at this event, so that's going on again this year. We will also kick off the entire school year at the Roms Auditorium with our staff on the 20th of August, and the community is always welcome. But we will have every staff member there, all departments. And this is very important to us that the key initiatives, the welcome, the safety training, as well as a keynote speaker that we will have that day, Dr. Woodley, is also received by all staff in the district, not just the teachers. And so that, I think, is something that the district also prides themselves on, that we do want all of our stakeholders involved. And so we're looking forward to that. One item that I just wanted to add and recognize, there was an article within the Free Press last week, and it does talk about the federal legislation of Title IX. So in 1972, Congress signed into law and enacted Title IX as part of the Education Amendments, which talked about no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance, and that includes public schools. So one of the things that the article talked about is that in 2024 here in April, the federal government did issue new regulations. So they are the 2024 release of Title IX regulations. And with that, there were some groups across the country who have filed for an injunction against the enforcement of the new procedures in that 2024 edition. One of our schools has been named in that and was within the article, but it is important to note that the reason for that was not because we have separate policies and we don't enforce separate policies at our schools. The board policies that are adopted are enforced at all of our schools and facilities. However, if those groups that are opposing the enforcement of the 2024 edition belong to any of the organizations filing the injunction, they were able to name the school that their children attend. And so if they are in that group filing the injunction, they could also have an opportunity to name the schools where their students attend. And that's really how individual schools across the country, not just here in Oakland County or for us, that's how they were named. So my point tonight is really just to assure the board and our community that we are addressing it. We are working with legal counsel to also understand not only the new regulations and our adoption of those in our policies, but then also the impact of this injunction and what that means for us. There's a lot to understand, and we want to make sure that we are careful in considering all of it. And I wanted to assure the board, again, that we are working on that diligently.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Well, thank you. I appreciate that update as well. Item number 8.2, curriculum and instruction. Dr. Ioannis?
Thank you, Mrs. Van Heitzma. I do have a shorter report today. I know typically it's longer, so we're going to make some people happy tonight, that's for sure. But we are definitely excited about next week. We have some very, very important events. One of them will take place on August 14th and 15th, our new teacher orientation session. A very important part of our school district is welcoming and helping new teachers better understand what we stand for and some of the values and beliefs that we have. So on the first day session, we'll take some time to help our new teachers understand the core values that we have as a district. We'll take some time to better understand some of the values they have in education and what they're going to bring to the table. We'll spend some time talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion and the important role that that plays in our district. Where, of course, we'll talk about some curriculum and spend some time working with our learning council reps during that time. And then a new addition that we have this year is a 90-minute bus tour that they will take around the city of Royal Oak, stopping at a few buildings and some important locations. I believe Mrs. Fitzpatrick will be a part of that tour as well at some point. So we wanted to give that a shot and give our new employees and new teachers a chance to really get a better idea of what our schools look like, what our city looks like. We have a map kind of ready to go as far as the route that they'll take. So we'll take them through some side streets. We'll kind of touch on some different points within the city. So it'll be a nice 90-minute opportunity with a tour guide and unofficial tour guide, but ice cream we're working on. Yeah, we talked a little bit about an option to stop for some ice cream along the way. So it'll be an exciting thing. And then day 2 really is going to focus on some more of the nuts and bolts, technology, smart board usage. Mrs. Abella and Mr. Walensky will be there to talk in the afternoon about some of the finances for Miss Abella and how she'll help them better understand those components. And of course, human resource that Mr. Walensky will be there in the afternoon. Also important part of day 2 is the school safety training that we have. We wanted to, once again, take some time to make sure that our new teachers will have an opportunity to work with Officer Lipscomb and get a better understanding of some of our policies and procedures around school safety and some of the things that we do. We wanted them to have that opportunity before they enter the classroom. Part of the all-staff kickoff that Mary Beth, Mrs. Fitzpatrick spoke about a few minutes ago was the Launch into Learning event, which we'll talk a little bit more about, but we'll have another opportunity for some school safety training for the entire district or a refresher update on the kickoff. So new teachers will get something on the 15th of August, and then they'll also join the all-staff kickoff to get some more information regarding school safety and some of the policies and procedures that Mr. Walensky has in place to keep all of our students and staff members safe. The following week, the August 21st is a teacher full work day, so it's important to give teachers that opportunity to get their rooms ready. They're working on it all summer, we know that, but that'll be one of the official days that they can have time to get those things done. The kickoff afternoon of the all-staff kickoff will be time for our building principals to have with their staff for their first time for professional development and meeting. So that's an important kickoff event on the 21st. And then, of course, our second year of the Launch into Learning, we have about 60 sessions ready to go. With Mrs. Fitzpatrick's email recently, that kind of opened up the sign-up. So we're watching the sign-up genius on the back end to see what teachers are signing up for what events or what sessions. Again, some of the feedback that we took from last year was to extend some of the sessions. They were a little bit shorter last year, so we extended them to give a little bit more time. And the other piece of feedback that we took was to provide the slides and resources for all the teachers quickly and right after the session. We didn't collect those beforehand, so we're going to have a better system in place so that we can give the teachers the resources that day. So a lot of exciting things happening, and we're looking forward to getting started and getting those things kicked off next week. No video today or this month, I'm sorry, but we'll have one next month for sure. And that's all I have.
Dr. Yuanis, can I ask how many new hires for the orientation?
Yeah, I was talking to Mr. Walensky a little bit briefly the other day. I want to say about 20. Is that about right? 20 classroom teachers. And this does not include ancillary staff. I think we only have the teachers come into the new teacher orientation. So, but I'm sure there'll be an update with Mr. Walensky and potentially some more hires to come. The other thing that we have been working on with Mr. Walensky's help a little bit too is trying to put a system in place for the newer teachers to get hired once the school year starts, like how we help them better understand our district, and there's hiring going on throughout the year. So we're going to tweak a few things this year to capture those new hires that are starting after the school year and that would miss this kickoff event, or even starting after next week, which will most likely happen. So.
Can I ask one more question? I don't know if this is a you or Mr. Walensky question. So when are the new staff assigned, like a mentor teacher? When does that happen in the process?
That's in the works right now. Probably by the start of school, hopefully everyone will be assigned by that time. If not, shortly after the start of school. But by law, we have to have a mentor teacher for every new hire for their first 3 years of employment.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Okay, thank you very much. Look forward to the video next month. Item 8.3, Finance and Facilities, Mrs. Abello.
Good evening. Dr. Ioannis may not have a video, but I do have pictures. So we've had some construction teams busy this summer. Some of this work is sinking fund and some of it is the remaining bond fund. This is Royal Oak High School. We did some pavement work there. On the left is the loop off of Crooks, and that's a mill and cap. On the right is the west side of Royal Oak High School, and they did some seal coating there. That's the staff or pool lot. This is the front of Royal Oak High School off of Lexington. There's a few things that went on here. Some of it was replacement, some of it was seal coating, but all of this work is now complete. Adams Elementary, there's been some exciting work going on. This is the office. On the left is where you will have that new secure entryway and the secretary. And then on the right, you see the hallway where those offices, like Mr. Boyer's office, will be placed. This is now, from what I understand, painted and carpeted. Looks very different, Dr. Ioannis, right? Those curtains are gone. Also, in addition to Adams Elementary office, we're also doing Adams Early Childhood office remodel. So on the left is the main entryway where the secretary sits, and on the right, there was a storage room that has been removed to have some extra room in that office. Adams Kitchen is being redone this summer. That I don't think has been updated since it was a junior high school, so that's very exciting, the work that's going on there. Adams also masonry restoration. It began last summer, if you remember. They're completing that this summer, so that work is in progress. Northwood also had some paving improvements, and as part of that, we have 2 lanes for pickup and drop off, and we've moved the crosswalk so that we hope that helps with the students at dismissal and arrival. That was a mill and cap that they did at Northwood, and that is complete at this time. Also, at Keller Elementary, there's also a kitchen remodel. It hasn't been remodeled, the kitchen itself, since it was a junior high. It was so large, we were able to capture a whole classroom in addition to the kitchen. So on the left, you see the kitchen remodel. You can see that they've started to place some of that kitchen equipment. On the right is that new classroom in progress. So in addition to the classroom, of course, all the technology, the smart board, the Epic, new lockers in the hallway for that class, all of those things will be added as well. And then Royal Oak Middle School will have a new lift that will, I see Miss Meldrum clapping at this one, lift that will get the students up to that mezzanine area where there's the workout equipment. That has been something that we've really desired to get done, and that is nearly complete at this time. So we're looking forward to students being able to get up to that weight room area. And that is the pictures that I have for you this evening. What I do also have is 2 items for your approval on tonight's agenda. 8.3.1 are batting cages for baseball and softball. We've had some other work that's going on with the bullpens and the batting cages, but this work is beyond bid limit. Some of the the other work that you've seen out there, like the concrete work, we have 3-year concrete bid work, so they were able to do that. This is above the state limit. It is on a cooperative bid. We did discuss it in full at last week's Finance and Facilities. So 8.3.1 batting cages.
I did want to comment too. It's not our work, it's the city's work. So I was glad they repaved the street on the north side of Adams. That we
Yes.
thought wasn't going to happen for a while. So I was actually glad to see that occur too, because the barricades were still up. But can I have a recommendation, please? 8.3.1 batting cages. Ms. Usinski.
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves expenditures as processed in the amount of $8,266,652.39 for July 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2024. Wait.
Excuse me. Yeah, I was going to say 8.3.1. Sorry. The batting cages only.
Jesus, sorry, you guys. Really fancy, really fancy batting cages. I apologize, everybody. Sorry. Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to finalize and sign a contract with BSN Sports using cooperative bid pricing for the batting cages at Royal Oak High School in the amount of $45,284.45.
That seems more reasonable.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Anderson, oh, Mrs. Haynes. Mrs. Haynes, okay. Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Haynes?
Yes, yes,
I'll vote
yes.
yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
And the motion passes.
I also have 8.3.2 on tonight's agenda. It is a new serving line for Northwood Elementary. It is the one that's there now, has been there since that building was built. It needs replacement. We will be paying for it with the excess fund balance that we have in the food service fund.
Mrs. Cook.
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to finalize and sign a contract with Stafford Smith Incorporated for the Northwood service line through cooperative bid pricing in the amount of $48,735.59.
Thank you. Can we have a second? Mrs. Alexander, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes? You already voted. Yeah. Okay. You really want that. Okay, the motion passes.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Moving on to item 8.4, staff and student services. It's coming soon. Be patient with us. It's coming. Mr. Walensky?
Thank you, Ms. Van Heitzma. I have 3 items on tonight's agenda for your consideration for approval, and I'll start with item 8.4.1, the monthly personnel changes since we last met. If you've had a chance to look at that, it's a fairly lengthy report, so I'll just summarize it quickly. We have 10 resignations, 1 request for a leave of absence, 1 employment termination, and 5 recommendations for hire. 10 resignations sounds like a lot, but 4 of them are from people who've been on a leave of absence for going into the 3rd year, have chosen not to return from a leave of absence. And those positions have already been filled. They were filled 2 years ago at the time that they took those leaves. We also received resignations from 2 paraprofessionals, 3 teachers, and 1 counselor at Royal Oak Middle School. So those positions do need to be filled. Our recommendations for hire include 1 speech pathologist, 1 physical therapist, 1 science teacher for Royal Oak High School, 1 3rd grade teacher for Keller Elementary, and 1 ASD teacher for Northwood Elementary that we actually had her sign a contract today. And that's item 8.4.1.
Can I have a recommendation, please? Oh,
Can I ask a
question?
question?
Yes, please.
Mr. Walensky, how many staff positions are still open for the upcoming school year?
That is a good question. I can look real quick. If my math is correct, I believe 8 positions.
Okay, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
great.
It's not unusual this time of year
Right,
to
that's
still
what
have
I guess I
positions
was
to
driving
fill.
at. Thank you.
But we're in the process of filling those positions.
Mr. Jaworski.
Contractually, the LOAs can be for 3 years.
Actually, it's 1 year, and they can appeal for a second year. And we typically do grant a second year.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Can we have a recommendation, please? Mrs. Anderson?
Resolve the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the regular personnel changes as presented.
Can I have a second? Mrs. Haynes? Can we have a roll call, please?
I will vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jacinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
And the motion passes.
Thank you. Now the big news.
Yeah, the big one.
8.4.2.
Okay, item 8.4.2, also a personnel recommendation, is a recommendation to appoint Angela Mallory to the position of assistant principal at Royal Oak Middle School. So Angela, if you want to come up to the table, have a seat.
Or the microphone, whichever you
Ms.
prefer.
Meldrum,
Mrs. Meldrum, wherever you're
we'll
most
join you.
comfortable.
As I have shared previously, this is a new position we chose to add. We've become aware of the need for a third assistant principal at Royal Oak Middle School over the years, just due to the size of the school and the needs of the students. So that was a position we posted on June 12th, and I was a little bit surprised. I think Ms. Meldrum was as well. We had over 100 applicants. So it's a little bit of an arduous process going through those applications, but we narrowed it down to 10 to be interviewed initially. I think 4 were invited back to a second round and 3 to a third round. So Angela's been through the ringer. She's gone through 3 rounds of interviews, and ultimately we did select her and recommend her for the position. A little bit about Angela. She's been in a teaching position with us for 2 years. She has served as our IB Middle Years Program Coordinator since September of 2022, but she began her career in 2005 as a curriculum and instruction coach and IB coordinator for the Detroit Edison Academy before serving as the IB coordinator and filled in as interim principal for Southfield Public Schools between 2018 and 2022. Angela has a bachelor's degree in communications media from Alabama State University, as well as a master's degree in secondary education from Alabama State University. She later went on to earn her education specialist from Oakland University in 2022 when she moved back to Michigan. And we're very confident that she is the right person for this role. I'm very excited to recommend her to you. So Angela, would you like to say anything?
That sounds great. I'm like, that's me. That sounds great. No, I'm excited for the opportunity. This will be my 3rd year with Royal Oak Schools, and from the jump, I've had an opportunity to just kind of dig in. It was great for me to be able to support the middle and the high schools because I've been able to build relationships in both areas. I've been able to join other colleagues with the trauma-informed sessions, and I'm a trainer for that as well. Had the opportunity to work with superintendent and cabinet members and leadership here at central office with the leadership program here. And I am just thrilled and excited and honored that you put your trust in me for supporting our students for continued success. And I'm excited and eager to join a very dedicated group of staff members and students and parents. So, thank you.
I do think that there are plenty of people to thank for this role in general. So I know that central office and the team that has fully supported me in coming here and the board for approving this position. I want to just kind of lay out the structure of what you'll see at ROMS going forward if you're curious about it. So Angela did some work with a club that she chose to do last year and built some relationships within our building and the high school building last year. And so those students will be moving up to 7th grade. And so we chose to put Angela as the assistant principal of 7th grade next year to continue building those relationships. And We're going to move Mr. Colligan to be the 6th grade assistant principal. He knows the ins and outs of our building, and Mr. Henshaw will continue to, he had most 7th graders last year, and he'll be the 8th grade assistant principal. So we have full teams now per grade level that'll rotate with the grades. We already have a structure in place that we're really excited and proud of. I think Royal Oak should be really proud of this hire because the Launch into Learning team drove this. If you think about it, Launch into Learning created the leadership program that wanted to build that after-school program that was voluntary, that Angela became a part of. So this really was a grow your own that you continued to go to because it was a passion of yours, that Mary Beth and Tim and the team took a lot of pride in. And Mary Beth joined us on the last interview, and her direct feedback to us was, we had given Angela feedback that I see her directly, doing right now. So it was just a very proud moment for Royal Oak in general. So I think that's something that we can all just kind of beam about a little bit. And I think did you want to introduce your family as well?
Yes, so
yes.
I don't know who these people are, but I'm excited that my mom is able to be here with us today. She's very happy for me, obviously. My son, Jameer, my husband, Deshaun, everyone's excited. We are Bulldogs, Rams Rocks, go Bulldogs. I'm excited. Let's go.
Jameer's an 8th grader with us.
Yes.
So. There's a
So
personal dedication to Royal Oak.
He'll be leaving. I'll be around for a while, but he'll be leaving us this year.
Not for a year, not for a year.
Angela gets all the football games.
Yeah, obviously.
So first of all, Ms. Meldrum, thank you for that overview of what's to come for ROMS. I know that's really important, but I will say that, back to the informal group that started at Launch Into Learning, it was really Dr. Parrott, Mr. Boyer, and I who met with aspiring leaders, folks within the district who want to be leaders or were ready to apply. And I had the pleasure of working with Angela throughout the year on that program. And, the process that we go through, as Mr. Walensky pointed out, starts with a huge pool of applicants, and we look at our posting and the needs of ROMS and match that with the candidates. And so you should be very proud, and I know your family's very proud of you, but we take a really hard look to pick the right person, the right fit for the school and for the candidate skill set. And we're pleased. We had a day with all our administrators, as I talked about, and you were able, to join us both through the lens of the work you've done in the MYP and now being recommended for ROMS. So I couldn't be more happy to have you on board. And so let's give her a round of applause. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Mrs. Cook? Oh, no, I was just going to say something else. I thought you had, well, I would just like to say thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the ROMS team for the last couple of years, and thank you for being willing to take this lead position. And I know the board and we're just really happy to be able to support this position and identified a need within the school. And, we want the school to be successful, so I think this just contributes to the success of the school. And there's a great team at the school, so I'm really happy. And I think your son's been very patient waiting all through this part of the agenda. But thank you all for being here to support your wife. And I think seeing your family here as well, knowing that you're supported in this role is really critical and important as well. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Jaworski.
Speaking of all the family here tonight, Mrs. Mallory, if your mom wants to come right up center and take pictures, you absolutely can. Pictures are really important.
And your son as well. They're more than welcome to
He's doing it by
come.
force right now, so.
Jameer knows the angles better.
It's fine, it's fine.
Thank you.
And-
Amy will take some good ones too. And I will say, the one part I forgot to mention is we did take a lot of surveys once we were approved of the position. We took a lot of staff surveys, student surveys. And before the interview, the second round interview, I read the feedback out loud to the panel prior to the candidates coming in. So I said, this is what we are looking for. This is directly from our staff. This is what we are looking for. So right before all the candidates came down, I said, remember, keep these things in mind. So we were able to read that out loud to our panel. The candidates came in. And so through that process, Angela rose to the top every time. And now I'm still able to take that and hand it right to her and say, like, these are the things that our staff was looking for, which I think that piece is going to be really, really important, which is exactly what I remember from my interviews coming to Royal Oak, the 3 things that the community wanted from me. And so those are the things that we'll be able to do too, so.
Mrs. Haynes?
I just wanted to say, so excited that we're going to have a third assistant principal there. Mrs. Meldrum has already done such amazing things at ROMS. She knows I'm a big cheerleader for her. And so now you'll be joining, and the kids are so lucky to have you. Just welcome into your family. We have her now, so. But congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. And you can use the backdrop back there too, so the whole family can get a nice group
All
photo.
right, yes, we'll definitely do that.
Take as many as you want, it's all good. Yes, and can we have a recommendation, Mrs. Cook?
We're just waiting for the recommendation.
Oh, okay.
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education affirms Angela Mallory's hiring and her appointment to be Royal Oak Middle School Assistant Principal effective August 12, 2024.
Can we have a second, please? Mrs. Alexander, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now it's official. Mr. Walensky?
Okay, I have one, is this working? Okay, I have one more item for your consideration for approval. Item 8.4.3 as a recommendation to approve a letter of understanding with the Royal Oak Education Association, the teachers union, to add a position to Schedule B, that position being strength and conditioning coach / weight room supervisor for Royal Oak High School. As you know, we have a very beautiful space for our weight room at Royal Oak High School across from the pool, but we've never had this position. We've paid teachers to supervise the space, but there's never been a contractually agreed amount that we would pay them. So I talked to our union leadership. We've talked about this quite a bit in the past months about where to place this position on the schedule. We really want somebody to do more coaching and strength and conditioning teaching with the students rather than just supervising the space. So the posting we want to put out is for somebody with certification in strength and conditioning, as well as to supervise the space, but to work with the coaches for every team at Royal Oak High School and develop a program for every student. We're requesting that it be placed at Category 6 on the Schedule B pay scale, which is equal to that of a head coach for basketball, football, hockey, swim, track, or wrestling. Part of the reason we discussed putting it at Category 6 also is just the amount of time they're going to have to be present. They're going to have to be present for all teams in the 2 hours or an hour and a half every morning to 3 hours after school every day, and work with the coaches and the players for all of our different teams. And this is something I shared at Facilities and Finance. So that's item 8.4.3 for your consideration.
Thank you. Can I have a recommendation, please? Mr. Jaworski?
Where's the position of strength and I don't think these are working. Right, so no one's going to hear me. It's going to be really, really fun.
They're not working. No.
Does this one work? Nope.
Nope. There they go.
Thank you. Whereas the position of strength and conditioning coach, weight room supervisor does not currently exist, and whereas both the ROSD and the ROEA agree that the need for such a position is warranted and needed, and whereas the parties discussed and agreed to what would be an appropriate placement on the ROA Schedule B pay scale, and now therefore be resolved the position of strength and conditioning coach, weight room supervisor will be added to Category 6 of the Schedule B pay scale for the fall, winter, and spring athletic seasons.
Thank you. Can we have a second? Mrs. Haynes, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
That's the end of my report.
Oh, I didn't know if you were, usually do your enrollment update and things like that.
I
so
can give you a brief enrollment report.
That would be nice. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, to date, I've been giving you kindergarten and developmental kindergarten numbers. To date, we have 375 children enrolled for kindergarten and 87 children enrolled for developmental kindergarten. I believe that is 462 children total, which is up a bit, about 9 children, well, exactly 9 children from last fall. We had 453 children enrolled. So those are good numbers. I can't say with certainty what our enrollment is across grades 1 through 12, but they should be pretty consistent with what they were last year, moving up through the grade levels.
I just want to add that when we do track enrollment, numbers are do change. This is a time of year when parents may have thought about moving, and they did, and so they may have initially been enrolled for one of our slots, but now have withdrawn. So when we report those students enrolled to date, it may also include students or families that have now changed their minds. We do have some fluctuation in some of our school of choice families that were accepted that may have changed their mind, and so the family conditions change, and so our numbers do fluctuate in our sections as well, just so you know, comparing these numbers to past numbers.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Item number 9 is our second public comment. Same rules as before apply. Carrie Derminer.
No videos. I have no videos, everybody. I have no videos. All right, I'm Carrie Derminer, and I am the new president of the ROEA. So just like Marianne said goodbye, I'm saying hello. And I just want to take a minute to say hi at my first official board meeting as the ROEA president. As a teacher in Royal Oak for 29 years and an ROEA member for the same amount of time, I've seen many different relationships between the administration and the ROEA. I am proud of the relationship we've been able to cultivate together. I look forward to continuing the relationship with an emphasis on solutions-driven collaboration. That's how we collectively ensure the quality environment of learning in Royal Oak. I would like to publicly thank Marianne Campbell for being an incredible mentor, and Grant Dalton for our UniServe director, who's always offering the support that we needed and to help me in this transition. Thank you.
Thank you. And welcome. We have just Grat, so Grat Dalton. Just Grat.
By the way, Carrie is one of my new bosses officially now. So my name is Grat Dalton. I live here in Royal Oak. I obviously am a staff member at the MEA. I want to talk a little bit about the Free Press article. I have 149 schools on that list, collectively thousands in this country. And I just want to talk about, first of all, I appreciate your comments. I lose sleep about a lot of things, right? I work in the labor movement. We have lots of things, many things at stake in this country, particularly public school funding, regardless of what news channel you decide to watch. And I lose sleep about a lot of things. When the Free Press article came out, I did not lose sleep about my members, your guidance with regards to that issue at Royal Oak High School. Not once, not 1 second. And I want to just assure you that I appreciate your comments. I won't sit here in public comment, even though I could, and call out the names of organizations that rely on hate and ignorance to fulfill their message with regards to public school funding and the treatment and fair treatment of all of your students, to include my members who serve them. And I won't do that. My email is gdalton@mea.org. I spent a lot of time talking about groups like Moms for Liberty or the Heritage Foundation and helping them understand that what public schools do for this nation is the great equalizer, and labor has a huge part in that. It started in 1894 during the Pullman strike when our laborers of color were making less than their white counterparts. And that changed what labor does for the working class. It changed what labor does in this country for kids who have the incredible good fortune to come to school here in their local communities that is guided and protected by public servants like you. So I want to thank you for that. And again, my email is gdalton@mea.org. If you have any questions or anybody listening to this has any questions about that article and what labor and what role labor can play in counteracting that message of hate and derision, please let me know. Other than that, this is my normal first of the year meeting with school boards across my constituent area. All of my members are counting their pencils, getting ready to come back to school, and I know they're excited. I'm almost done with all of my contracts in all of those areas. I've got 2 left. So Welcome Back Day will be an exciting time, and I, again, appreciate your service.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, we will close public comment. Move on to number 10, board comments and liaison report. Ms. Jasinski, Oakland 100.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. The planning is still moving forward for the Oakland 100, Oakland Through the Ages. We just want to keep reminding people in our community and our current students and staff members, as well as anybody, in the larger Royal Oak area who has some kind of connection to either our schools or just loves history, to join us on September 20th. From 6 to 8 at the Oakland building. We're working on, we're putting the finishing touches on plans for food and entertainment. We've got plans for jazz band music. We're going to have different areas set up that's going to highlight Oakland Through the Ages, right? Kind of dedicated to each of the eras of the building and the eras of our public education and the different students that have come through. We've got some really cool archives and things like that to go through, old yearbooks and, memorabilia. We're going to be having history tours, hopefully led by some students, which is going to be awesome. We're working on a kind of commemorative video to highlight some of the experiences that people have had as Oakland students. So if you're a community member and still have something that you want to say, a memory to share, a story to tell, we're still looking for people to contribute to that video so that we can play it. But I'm just really, really looking forward to it. And so just make sure that you're marking your calendar, like I said, 6 to 8 on the evening of the 20th. And it will kind of be a variation on a lot of our back to school and welcome back activities to really celebrate the history of that building.
To clarify, September 20th. Okay. I heard 20th, but I didn't hear September, so I just.
I'm sorry.
clarified.
Yep. September 20th, 6 to 8 p.m.
Thank you. Mr. Jaworski, Sustainability Committee.
I may have to lean on Ms. Jasinski were you at the meeting on Tuesday? Well, there was a meeting on Tuesday, and I don't know that any of us were able to make it. I had a work obligation that kept me pretty busy the entire day. But our first Green Team meeting, I think, went really well. It was a collaboration between Angela Fox with the city and a very dedicated group of parents from our school district who are very, very passionate, and teachers that are very passionate about green sustainability initiatives throughout the school. A lot of great things were said about Mr. Jacobs and the food service and all the great work that's going on there. Their main concerns were finding volunteers that are going to be able to help within all the schools. And I think a real sense of community that we have here in Royal Oak was exhibited during that time. Some of the schools that have an excess number of volunteers had even said at the meeting, well, if we don't have parents at this school, can't we send people there? Which is completely acceptable and encouraged. So I think the meeting was really, really great. I am sorry I missed the last meeting. And Lauren, do you have anything else to add?
No, another just kind of main conversation point from that very first meeting is just really making sure that we as a district are aligning, the experiences of the volunteers that we've already had, and kind of building that up so that all of our buildings have an equitable experience with that, right? That we have the same things in place and that students are, practicing the same things, especially because of us having only one middle school and high school. It's really important, right, that we get all of the elementary schools kind of having a similar thing so that when they do join, Miss Meldrum and her team at the middle school, right, all of those sixth graders are ready to go and ready to play an equal part in that. So that's something we're really looking forward to. And then further aligning some of these sustainability efforts, really celebrating what we're already doing well, and then aligning those efforts with our strategic plan.
Mrs. Haynes?
How will you be garnering volunteers? Will it be something that's posted? How will someone?
I think through conversation at the meeting, I think a lot of this work has been done through PTAs, and it seems like that's the best route going forward to continue.
Well, I just wanted to welcome our administrators back this week. Thank you for the work you do and the time you spend preparing. Thank you to the team that does the work all summer to get our buildings ready. So we're grateful that even seeing the middle school's shiny new floor, it just looks amazing. So, and then thank you, welcome to the staff that returns August 20th. So the welcome back event, so be anxious to see people and welcome them back. But thank you for all the work that I know you're going to do this year, and thank you, Grat, for coming as well. And Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Wow, thank you. This must be Ram's night, but I would like to point out, if you've driven up and down Washington Avenue right outside of Royal Oak Middle School, you will see some construction. That is a project that we've been talking about for several months, both at Finance and Facilities and then approved by the board here at a regular meeting. It's going to expand parking from parallel parking to angled parking on the spots right in front of the middle school, but during the day it will become the drop-off point for our students arriving via our buses for special education. We're also expanding and changing the routes around Royal Oak Middle School, and I am working with Amy Murphy in communications, Mrs. Meldrum, as well as Ms. Abella, to craft a letter to community members and also to the parents at ROMS about what that new route will look like. And, you know, we've taken a lot of feedback. Pick up and drop off at any school across the country is really tough for 7 minutes in the morning and 7 at the end of the day. And we're listening, and we're trying some new strategies to improve that over at Royal Oak Middle School. So you'll see the communication coming out shortly, and hopefully the construction will be short-lived over there for any inconvenience in that area. And then also another point for ROMS is that we do work with community partners quite often in our district, and we could not do the job that we do for our families if it weren't for these partners. The YMCA does offer an after-school program as an option for middle school students. Ms. Meldrum and I were in touch with the YMCA staff this week, and they just wanted to reiterate that the registration for that program, which is about $16 a day for students to stay after school at ROMS, their programs will center around literacy, STEM, nutrition, arts and crafts, character development, and homework for those students that do stay after school if they can't go directly home. As the school day ends, they are waiving a registration fee until October 1st. So if families do register very soon, they can just sign up for their children and then go through the process with the Y. So we're thankful that we have that available to our families, and we just wanted to make sure that the middle school families were aware that this is an option.
Mrs. Anderson?
I have a question and something I was just going to add. Is there a limit on how many kids can enroll in that program with the Y?
So they do staff based on the number of students who enroll, which is why it's important if families are interested that they enroll soon so that the Y can secure the staff, because they do need to maintain a staff to adult ratio for the program. But you know, we have a lot of space at ROMS, and I know the Y is eager to work with us, but I would say no for a limit right now, but you know, the staffing will be, or the student enrollment into that program will be based on the number of staff that they can secure and make sure that they're safe while they're there. 5. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think it's a great opportunity. The other thing is that you had said about a shiny new floor, and for the history-minded people, it is not a new floor. It is the original floor, and it's beautiful, and it's still there, but it's been redone.
Well, it does look shiny new. I just want to say. Any other comments? Mr. Jaworski?
Okay. Now we have a board comment that's not part of a committee report. So in regard to the Free Press article and the injunction that was issued by a federal judge in Kansas, I don't want to speak for the entire board, but I am pretty confident that my colleagues up here share with my opinion that we will do everything we can as a school board to ensure that every student is treated with dignity, equity, and inclusion, and they are safe and feel safe and are not discriminated against in their school, regardless of building that they go to within Royal Oak. Thank you.
Thank you. And on that note, we're adjourned. Thank you.